Good Samaritan dies trying to save boaters. A man was killed Saturday in a fatal boating accident after a sinkhole created a dangerous whirlpool on the Spring River in Arkansas. Authorities identified the victim as Donald Wright, who worked as the executive director of a halfway house in SEARCY. According to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, a sinkhole opened around noon below the falls near Dead Man's Curve, resulting in a deadly whirlpool. While paddling in the area, Wright's residents were thrown off their kayak after it became caught in the whirlpool. Wright tried to help, but his own kayak capsized and got sucked into the whirlpool. The 64-year-old reportedly drowned within minutes. A spokesman from the commission says one of the paddlers was able to swim to shore, while the other was injured and had to be flown out. Officials have installed buoys around the sinkhole and warned visitors not to go into the area. Engineers are set to assess the region within the week amid worries that another sinkhole could open up in the area. Careful where you're going.
Newlywed's body found buried in deep hole dug on beach. Digging holes in the sand is just part of a day at the beach, but for a 30-year-old newlywed on vacation, a deep hole in the dark quickly became her grave. In Ocean City, Maryland, posted beach regulations stipulate holes must not be dug more than knee-deep of the smallest person in the group. Authorities aren't sure who's responsible for digging the hole and carelessly leaving it behind, but tourist Ashley O'Connor somehow found herself in it. She was last spotted on the beach sometime after 2 a.m. on July 31st. Holes dug in the sand can quickly cave in and collapse, burying unsuspecting victims under the pressure within seconds. The next morning, around 6:30 a.m., beachgoers spotted a limp arm sticking out of the sand. It was Ashley's. Currently, investigators do not suspect any foul play. CBS News reports that globally, 31 people have died from similar sand traps over the past decade.
Phew! That was close. 21 lucky bus passengers in China got a real sinking feeling when a giant hole in the ground almost gobbled them up. The 10-foot wide and 10-foot deep sinkhole opened up on a bus lane in the southern city of Nanning last Friday, just moments after the vehicle passed over it. The narrow escape was captured on CCTV. As you can see from the video, the passengers get a bit of a bumpy ride just moments before the sinkhole appears. The driver of a second bus following behind then slams on the brakes to avoid the massive gaping hole in the road. Footage from aboard the first bus shows just how close its passengers came to being swallowed. Yep, we're gonna bet there were probably more than a few soiled undergarments on that bus. According to the cops, one of the city's subway lines runs under the road where the sinkhole was found. The bus lane was immediately closed for repairs so the authorities could investigate what happened. China is no stranger to sinkholes. There have been several reports of the giant craters appearing without warning at various locations around the country in recent years. Sinkholes commonly occur when rock below the land surface is naturally dissolved by circulating groundwater, causing the land surface to collapse suddenly.
Giant unstable sinkholes in Texas are still growing. Satellite images show that 2 sinkholes near Wink, Texas are growing, and that more sinkholes are forming nearby. Sinkholes form naturally when underground water dissolves bedrock, creating voids over time. The voids grow upward toward the surface until the layers above them collapse. Sinkholes can also be created by oil and gas extraction. Drilling fractures underground rock and allows water to permeate and dissolve the interbedded salt, which creates voids underground. Scientists have discovered that 2 infamous sinkholes between the small towns of Wink and Kermit in West Texas, named Wink 1 and Wink 2, are expanding. Wink 1 is about 110 meters across, or roughly the size of a football field. Wink 2 is roughly 270 meters across. Wink 1 appears to be the more unstable of the 2. It has a deformation area measuring about 500 meters wide and is subsiding up to 4 centimeters a year. Wink 2 is sinking up to 3 centimeters a year. New sinkholes or one giant sinkhole may form west of Wink 2. In addition, ground along a road used by oil field vehicles directly north of Wink 2 is also subsiding around 3 centimeters a year. Wink 2 is about 3 kilometers from Wink, which has a population of 940 people. Wink 1 is about 6 kilometers from Kermit, which has a population of 6,000. The satellite images were collected by geophysicists at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. They reported their findings in the journal Remote Sensing. The scientists said the sinkholes are unstable and subsiding at an alarming rate. More sinkholes could appear in the future, and they could collapse into one giant sinkhole. The researchers warned that a collapse of the sinkholes, which are near two communities and an area heavily populated with oil and gas installations, could be catastrophic.
There's a new type of black hole, and it's in the Milky Way. New evidence has been found backing the existence of a mid-sized black hole, which has long theorized to be the middle ground between single-star black holes and supermassive ones found in galaxy centers. Astronomers in Japan discovered a peculiar gas cloud near the center of the Milky Way that contained gas that moved at vastly different velocities. This, along with faint radio waves coming from the center of the cloud, suggests the presence of a black hole 100,000 times the mass of our Sun. The radio signals detected from the cloud are similar to those produced by Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. The Japanese team hypothesized that the mid-sized or intermediate mass black hole was formed from the core of a dwarf galaxy that had previously been absorbed into the Milky Way. Scientists have long believed that giant black holes grow in part from the merger of small ones. So the discovery is especially significant, since it's the clearest evidence yet of a black hole mass in between the two size extremes.
UAE-sized hole opens up in Antarctica. Well, here's something you don't see every day. A nation-sized body of water known as a polynya has opened up in Antarctica. Scientists say this is the second year in a row the massive hole has appeared. At 30,000 square miles in size, it is half the size of Florida, around the same size as the UAE, and 3 times as big as Hawaii. Warming waters from changes in the environment are said to play a part in the formation of such holes, as well as weather factors. Thing is, we wouldn't even know it was there if we didn't have satellites. Thanks, science! Sinkhole cracks open on the lawn of the Commander-in-Chief. White House lawn maintenance staff are scratching their heads this week after a small sinkhole opened on the north side of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Here it is, and while it doesn't look like much, the Washington Post reports that the crevice is getting bigger. Officials have cordoned off the hole with cautionary tape. But according to Newser, there is another hole opening up next to the first. A National Park spokesperson told CNN they are likely the result of heavy rain. Officials don't believe the crevices pose any threat, so don't expect to see the White House getting swallowed by the ground. Purdue University professor and weather expert Terry West told CNN that the building doesn't naturally lend itself to sinkholes. He reckons it's probably due to man-made activities. During the Obama administration, the area reportedly had more than its fair share of construction.